Good morning, and thank you for joining Resilient You with Alicia Pozsony on Power 98.5 FM satellite radio. Each week, we bring you the best in your entertainment and show on resilience. Our guests will talk about tips and strategies, things they've been through, and we will learn and be inspired. Today, we have John Russell. I'm very excited to have John on the show. He's a model, actor, founder, CEO of a new online store. And John, welcome to the show.
How you doing, Alicia? Thank you. Thank you for bringing me on the show.
Yeah, it's wonderful to have you. I love to have people who are as well-rounded as you. And I know sometimes our listeners, they look at the guest and they'll go and check you out. And I know that you have a great online presence. How do you want to start, John? What would you like our listeners to know about you?
Oh, okay. Well, a little about me. My name is John Russell Coker Jr. I was born to Almetris Crowder and John Russell Coker Sr. I'm from Muskogee, so you know the saying, the song by Merle Haggard, "Okie from Muskogee." Yeah, that's me. So I grew up with my mom and single parent home with my half brothers and sisters, and I had my cousins staying with me. I learned a lot of my resilience from my mom. I saw her with her struggles in life growing up as a kid, but just basically how she handled things, poor single mom, welfare system, things like that. But she battled through, and I really admired her for that. Whatever we needed, she made sure that we got it. My dad has always been in my life, and I admire him for that. He's helped me with a lot of things, and I think that's where I get a lot of my character from. It's from my father. He kind of instilled that in me through work ethics. He kind of had this Mr. Miyagi theory with everything wax on, wax off, and I didn't understand his way of bringing me up at times. But once I got older, I understood. So I'm just very, very grateful for my parents, thankful for God as well, and all my coaches and friends that have mentored me through life to get me where I'm at today.
Wow, wonderful. So see, just even I did my homework, but I did not know that you were, raised in a single parent household. A lot of our shows, we have people and, we find out little things like that. And oftentimes that is something that would be like a pivotal point where, maybe growing up, if you had less than someone else, or you were in a position where you saw something that you didn't want in your own life as you got older, you found strategies, right, to deal with it. So my mom was also on welfare when I was young, growing up. And I saw the way that my mom handled it, and she was always there for me. That's the one thing that even though my mom, she was also mentally ill, which it got worse later on in life, but she had, she always had that strength and resilience. And I think also that's where I got it from. So way to go, moms out there. We have, strong women. Now, when you talk about your character, you moved in with your dad at a certain point in your life. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about that transition from being with your mom and moving into your dad's?
Yes. So like whenever I moved in with my dad, I was pretty much already molded from my mom. She taught me how to respect and be courteous and kind to others. So I was already molded, and my dad just sort of took me in and he kind of fine-tuned me, shaped me up a little bit. Like I said before, he taught me work ethics and things of that nature. And I mean, my father, he worked sometimes 2, 3 jobs. He was a blue collar guy. but he would take us to practice, come home from practice, train us. Then he would like show up at our games. He was also a coach. He tried to be hands-on with everything with us. But I mean, as far as like being a father, he was always involved in all his kids' life. And you know, I highly commend him for that, because not a lot of Black fathers stay involved in their kids' life. And he was always there, you know, regardless of the hard times and times that we were very defiant against him, because we just didn't understand his methods of teaching, but you know, they worked. And like I said, I commend him on that. And as I got older, I really understood his, like I said, his wax on, wax off theory, his ways of teaching, you know, pushing a lawnmower, you know, cutting yard with a push mower when we have a riding lawnmower. I didn't understand, but he'd tell me, get out there and push it. It's going to build calf muscles and make your legs bigger, you know. We would go training down the road, and instead of running with tennis shoes on a dirt road, he had me running with rain boots. And I was like, man, this dude is crazy. But he had to do it, and it helped. It helped with my balance, you know, and my speed and things like that. And then he had me pulling a tire, and I think I was about fourth grade. And not only was he working with me, but he worked with other kids as well, to where he began to train us all for like baseball, football. When I remember when I was young, he gave me a pole, and he had me swinging it to hit this tree, and told me I had to knock this tree down. And again, didn't make sense to me, but hey, I did it. And eventually, I think it took about a year, I knocked the tree down. We ran hills, and again, like I would watch tapes about Barry Sanders and things like that. So like football was my love. I was just good at baseball. But as I got older, you know, the love for both became very mutual. My mom, she made it to a few games here and there. My stepmom, she was there. She was always involved. So I commend her on her efforts in helping to raise me, along with my father. So I mean, I just say that I was blessed to be around the support system of my siblings. My dad always been there. My mom always been there, and then my stepmom getting involved when she didn't have to, you know, because my dad came with luggage, and that was me, but she didn't have to. But she stuck around, and yeah, and I just had a good upbringing despite, you know, my environment where I came from. I didn't let my environment dictate my outcome of my life. And I think that's what happens a lot of times. You know, a lot of people get caught up maybe in the system, they like to call it, because they're born into an environment and they think that is the way that they have to be, when you can change that. You know, you don't have to let your environment dictate who you become in life, you know. And so I understood that at a young age and saw the world from my perspective. I knew that the world was bigger than just 823 South 22nd Street. And kind of baseball kind of took me out. Football took me out. So I used sports as an outlet to get up, get out, and get away. And then I've always told my mom, like, hey, I'm going to buy you that big house. You know, I always thought that I was going to be this big time professional athlete. You know, we always say that. But, you know, there was a different turn in life, you know, and I was hit with some adversity, and I had to make decisions based on that. And I'm thankful, because I learned that adversity as a child, and as I got older, I wouldn't say it became easier, but let's just say I had the tools, and I was a lot more prepared to handle it, you know.
Yeah, and a lot of, you know, a lot of kids or people who come up from adversity, whether, you know, they're in a situation where their parents split, or they don't have both parents or any parents, you know, I've spoken with a lot of people over the years, and it really does make us stronger, and help to propel us to that next thing. In a lot of cases, sometimes though, it's not as easy for people. So it's nice to hear that when you were younger, you know, you had, you know, parents, and you had your siblings, and, you know, you were open to going through that training and what they said. The kids today, they're like, no, mom, like, at least in my house, I get pushback. That the kids are like, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to take the garbage out now. It's 10 o'clock. And I'm like, you know what? You're going to do it. Like you just,
Yeah.
but it's true that today the kids are just very different than when we were growing up. So
I remember, like I said, my dad didn't really have to do too much disciplining with me. Cause my mom already done that. And I mean, she would say one thing or do this. And if I didn't do it, man, I got a belt or a good old switch, and she was lethal with that switch, and this is not to put anything on her as far as like, but it disciplined me. And I think it was about 6 or 7. I decided, it was like, hey, I'm going to straighten up because I'm tired of getting a belt to my hiney, and so she always stayed on me, like with my schoolwork. And I remember one time I didn't do my homework and I went to football practice instead. And she told my dad, and I had to write like 100 sentences. I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but yeah, I still remember I had to write 100 sentences. And it said, before I could return to football practice. And it was like, I will always do my homework after school before going to football practice. And I had to write that 100 times. As a kid, you're just like, I mean, now you look back, you're like, oh, okay, let's do it. But now as a kid at 8 years old, you're like, man, you know what I mean? So I was sitting there trying to write out 100 sentences, and I finally completed, and I was able to return to football practice. So my father and my mother worked as a unit to discipline me. But like I said, my mom, like, she was strict, and she instilled a lot of like household domestic like ethics into me. I knew how to cook, clean, and do a lot of things, and that was taught through her, So I thank her for that. Yep, absolutely.
So you were saying a lot of kids who don't have what you got really build them up as successful adults, and some kids, when they get to that adulthood stage, they don't have the tools that they need and they become troubled adults.
Absolutely. And because I was kind of given those tools as a kid, I knew how to pull them out when I needed them, and get through my problems. I wasn't always like, when I went to my siblings, with my mom's side, I would arrive and it's like, oh, well, here comes your son. Here comes Carlton. I don't know if you've watched Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, but you got Will Smith and you got Carlton. Well, because I didn't necessarily dress like with the culture, they would call me Carlton because I would have like maybe polo pants and or boots or, a polo shirt instead of, the other way around. But I mean, it is what it is. I can do the Carlton dance, and that's all that mattered to me, and, and, I don't know. I just, that type of dressing was not, it didn't fit for me, and a lot of my friends, they didn't really dress that way either. Because all of our parents were like pretty strict on us. And, if my mom was around all of our friends and they were getting out of hand, hey, she would correct us. That's how it was in our neighborhood growing up. Like all the moms were like a mom to us and corrected us all, no matter where you went. And I think we kind of lost that as we got older and got more attached to the system, and more of like social worker and all that got involved to where, oh, you can't do this to your kids. You can't do that. You can't say this, or don't tell my kid this, when all the politics and all that got involved, I think, and just in my opinion, I think a lot more kids went astray as opposed to being more respectful to their elders, to their peers, and also to themselves,
Yeah, that's so true. And we've heard, it takes a village. I heard that saying growing up, but then when I got to my own family, I realized how true it was, needing extra support or, different situations. And, it's true. And I didn't mind if somebody else helped me by correcting my child, right? Because it's not easy, sometimes they get so used to you and they push limits and stuff. So it's true that a lot of today's world lost a lot, I think.
I agree. I really do. And, like I said, I'm just grateful for my upbringing, friends, family. And I know I've spoken about that so much, but they don't realize how big of an impact that they had on me. Although I didn't say anything or I didn't show it, but I thank each and every one of them. I mean, I really listened. I even had a group of friends where we went to this camp when I was young, and it was called NYSP, National Youth Sports Program. And there was this 3 individuals, and I'll say their name: Michael Fleek, Nick Hilton, and Dallas Vanderford. And this camp was predominantly, I would say, minority. What I mean by that, like African American, Latino, Native, things like that. And they were the only 3 Caucasian kids at this entire camp. And I just was like, oh my, I don't know why, but I gravitated towards them. And we grew up and they never saw color. We didn't see color. And to this day, we are great friends. Those are my brothers. Blood doesn't make you brother, and like I said, we grew up playing baseball together, football together, basketball together. And I mean, these guys could play. they could play some ball, along with the rest of us, and then, we became friends at this camp and we all grew up playing ball together. And to this day, we all get along. We see each other on the streets. There's none of this segregation that you see a lot of these days. I don't know, it's always going to be there. We can't get rid of racism, or we can't get rid of those who I think just doesn't think that we should blend in as a society. But I mean, I don't see race. I only see one race, and that's the human race. And that's how I raised my daughter to this day, to see one race, but granted, she faces things at her age, at age 8. And it's, as a father, it bothers me, but all I can do is teach her how to be kind, and, of course, stand her ground when she needs to, but at the same time, just be kind, keep Jesus in mind, and pretty much turn the other cheek, take the high road. Even though that's tough to do. I can't even tell you how many times I've had to say, you know what, God bless you, and walk away. So it's tough.
That's true. That's beautiful, though. It's beautiful.
It is tough to bite your tongue on things, or clench your, how you just ball your fist up and you're just like, okay. And you take a deep breath and you walk away. And it's tough, but hey, you can do it. It's willpower. You got to have that self-control that we talk about. You got to have self-control. You are better than that situation. You can't let that person dictate your outcome. They do not control you. You control you. You control this vessel. You control how you think. You control how you move. You are in self-control. So you walk away when you have to.
Right. Wonderful. Well, that's a wonderful sentiment. And I know, a lot of our listeners are going to hopefully be hearing this and moving forward in their own life, trying to embody that, right? That self-control and living without color, one human race. And I think that's a wonderful sentiment, John. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
I know one of the quotes that I saw on your Instagram was about perseverance. And it was something like, don't let pain bring you down, turn pain into power. You're unique and there'll never be another you. Never let challenge beat you. Remember, you're not alone. Life is not happening to you. Life is happening for you. And I don't know if you remember that one, but that really struck a chord with me. How do you feel that our listeners can really learn from that?
So Yeah, so going back to my childhood, when I left my mom, I didn't leave her, but I went to move in with my dad at a certain age, to um, kind of get brought into manhood. And through where I talk about my character, there's a lot of times that, I felt like I couldn't do things. I know when I started baseball, things like that, baseball is a game of failure. And you know, you learn how to face adversity and things. And I remember at one point in time, I wanted to quit, and it taught me a lot through life. But my father sat down with me and told me, like, you quit this one time, you quit this game, you're going to be quitting for the rest of your life, you know. And at the time, it didn't really resonate with me. But as I got older, I just told myself, like, I'll never quit. I'll keep pushing through. I'll keep moving forward. Things are happening in my life, but it's happening for me for a reason, to build a foundation for something greater in the end. I kind of stated that today, not knowing what God kind of throws at us, but it's all for a purpose, and it sort of built like a lot of character for me to this day, So again, I revert back to the game of baseball because of the adversity that you face in it, you can't carry that on to the next at bat if you were to strike out previously. You have to forget and you have to move on, and you have to like sort of self-reflect and evaluate yourself, and then go back up and try not to make the same mistake. And sometimes you can hit a home run. So I kind of say in life, hit home runs. So
Yeah, yeah, that's so true. So now you had you mentioned that you were a minor league baseball player, is that right?
yes, I played 2 years minor league, which was like independent baseball. It was for the Evansville Otters, and then I played overseas in Amsterdam, in Netherlands, for a team called HCAW, and that's in English HCAW, but in Dutch it's HCAW. So I had a bit of a struggle trying to speak Dutch, but it just didn't work for me. I'm an Oklahoma boy, and my tongue and my throat just doesn't do certain things like pronouncing certain letters like they do, and so I didn't give it any more effort into trying to learn the language. I was just there to play ball, and that's all I wanted to do was play baseball.
Wow, wow, that's interesting. So you so rewinding back, right? So um you were with your mom, with your cousins, and growing up a little harder than others, some in some cases, right? So, but you had support. You had your mom, and then you had your dad in your life. So, you played the game of failure, and then you were able to pick up lessons along the way, and that's so important, right? So I've had some people that I've helped throughout my counseling and as a life coach or career coach, and they go through things, they don't understand it, and it can weigh them down. And so it's really wonderful what you say about being able to reflect and self-evaluate, and look at it from your own introspective, but then also from outside, right? Because
Hmm.
as you say, like things might happen and we don't understand it at the moment, but then later, it really does, it makes sense, and we begin to see that there's greater things out there for us. So what happened after that, John? I know that you were a sergeant in the U.S. Army.
Yes, yes. So after you know, constantly battling, trying to get on teams with in minor league baseball, it came a point where I was just like, it got me to where I needed to be. It taught me things. It got me a free education because I played at the University of Louisiana Lafayette and also at Seminole State Junior College. Met a lot of great people along the way, a lot of great coaches that helped, um, guide me, mentor me, give me lots of advice, that were outside father figures from my biological father. And you take that and you carry it on to the next chapter in your life, which is when I joined the military. I joined the infantry, 11 Bravo, United States Army with the Oklahoma National Guard. I went to basic training down in Fort Benning, Georgia. You know, a lot of people, you put things in perspective. A lot of people try to tell you things of what basic training is going to be like. And I would hear their stories, horror stories about Fort Benning, Georgia, drill sergeants doing this and doing that. But I didn't really let that, kind of like paint the picture for what basic training is going to be like for me. I went in with an open mind, a clean slate, and I was like, I'm going to paint my own picture for myself. And to tell you the truth, like, I really did enjoy basic training. I looked at it as, seeing the silver lining of things. Most people look at it as being negative when you have to do push-ups and things like that. I looked at it as that I was getting paid to work out, because they do pay you in basic training. So I was getting paid to work out. I was getting paid to transform my body. I was getting paid to strengthen my mind. I was getting paid to shoot cool weapons, uh, things like that, and learn a lot of skills and trades that could carry on into war. And not only that, but outside of the military. And then, of course, I got to a line unit and met a bunch of great brothers and sisters that, I deployed with. And my military career came to, was shortened, due to circumstances that I know a lot of people know about if they were to read about online or watch videos or whatnot. And my condolences goes out to the families and things of that nature. But like I said, I met a lot of great comrades along the way, and even the military has taught me a lot, through perseverance, personal courage, being selfless and things like that, and also leadership. Things that I didn't think that I could face, I was able to take it on, with full courage and everything, and just battle it. And that's what you got to do sometimes. You just got to push on and just get up there and just battle. Just go for it. And so, yeah, that's all I have to say about that. We can probably
Yeah, well, that you've said a lot. And I saw another quote that you had you shared online, which was lean closer to God and loved ones, because with time you can get through it. And so, everything you're saying is kind of leading me to that point, because I know that, with all of that seriousness, and thank you for serving, by the way. It really takes, it takes a lot to give of yourself, and, and fight for America as we know it, and our freedoms. So thank you so much. And the fact that you looked at that basic training with positivity, that's something that not people always do. I noticed that, myself included, when I was younger, and I went through high school, and the counselors were like, okay, it's time for your college choices. Where do you want to go? And I didn't feel like I had enough support, like I had enough courage. And I was not able to look at that with a positive light, to say, I'm smart, or I'm as good as anybody else, even though we can't afford for me to go to college, I can find another way. I didn't do that, and I let that shut me down. And my life took a different path, which, it turned out well, it turned out okay. I did go to college later on in life, but for me, that was one experience where I wasn't raised with the tools to be able to battle that. That was like a big thing in my life, and I couldn't do it. So how did you, when you enlisted, was it just like that was a logical next step for you, or did someone guide you to join?
I had a list of goals when I was a young kid, that, I told myself someday I'm going to play college baseball and football. And I played college baseball. I had the opportunity to play college football, but I got a call from an independent team, and I actually left two-a-day practices for football. and I got on a flight and I left. I packed a bag, I left and went to Indiana. Of course, I returned for football season at the time because that was the end of baseball season. And I tried to go back on the team, and it didn't work out. Like, the coach wasn't too happy about that. But, I tried. And so we go from there and we carry on into, the military and things like that. And I had failures there as well. But so we're going to edit this out. What was the question again? I told you my mind just goes on and on.
No worries. I was asking about when you enlisted, did you enlist
That's right.
on your
Okay.
own, or
Okay. So going from there, with my goals that I had as a kid, I played college baseball. Then I said I wanted to play college football. Pro baseball and football. I wanted to be like Deion Sanders or Bo Jackson, go play a football game and then play a baseball game at night, so they were like my idols, like growing up. Like, I wouldn't say my heroes. My father's my hero, but you get what I'm saying. And then, so I had that in mind. And I always told myself that at some point in time in my life, I will join the military. I didn't know what branch, but I said I will join the military. And so what had happened is that, being traded and trying out from team to team to team, it wasn't that I didn't think I was good enough. It was just that it wasn't that I didn't think I was good enough, but from a scout's perspective, maybe they didn't think that I fit the 5 quality tools of baseball. So, I just take it, I held my head up high and I just kept moving forward. While I was in Europe playing baseball, season was coming to an end. I had gotten traded from Haseyave for 2 pitchers. They brought in 2 pitchers, so they traded me, and then I learned that I was released. And at that point, I came back home, and I was just kind of like, I didn't know what to do. I was just used to going and going and going for so many years. I came back home, and I didn't know what to do. And so at that point, I was walking the mall. And I went into the Marines, I went to the Air Force, I went to the Navy, and none of them were really hitting with me. I went to the Army, and I was like, yes, this is something that I want to do. But then as I was walking out, I was approached by a sergeant, a recruiter from the National Guard that offered a sign-in bonus. So that was an extra incentive. So I was like, hey, let's take that. So as far as meeting my goals, I was like checking the box on every single one. And now here I am. I was in the military, and in my mind, I was going to put in 20 plus years. I was going to retire as a full bird colonel, maybe sitting at the Pentagon or something like that. That was in my mind. But of course, there was another direction that was taken. God had another plan for me. So my military career was cut short, which, like I said, everything that I go through, every experience, I'm like highly grateful for, because I think like I said, it just builds character, and it's going to make me even better for something down the road that I may face. And I can take what I've learned as experience in whatever field that I failed at and use it as a tool for something down the road to continue to build.
Yeah, that's a great way to handle that when we face
Yeah.
failure or things don't quite go our way, to be able to,
Mm-hmm.
have that mindset.
Yes. And I just think that a lot of times when people want to do things, they just sort of like it's a fear of failure that comes to mind. I think we hold back a lot of times, and we don't accept failure as a part of our journey. And if you don't accept it as part of your journey, I don't think you'll ever find success. But from my point of view, like I kind of take my failure and I turn it into lessons, that I'm going to learn from, and I know how to handle it in the future, and I try to be as optimistic as possible. So I really don't look at failure to me being something negative. If you think about it in school, it's an old saying, like in school, you get the lesson first and the test second, but in life, you get the test first and you learn your lesson second. You know,
Mm-mm.
funny how that is, you know, but
Oh yeah, yeah, that's right. They try to prepare us, and no matter how that
yeah,
happens, you know, it's not a direct match.
right. Absolutely.
Wow. So as a journalist, I went and I said, okay, let me look for him, and I found a lot of entertaining things that you have shared online. So thank you for that. That gorgeous smile you have, and you know, uh, and your looks. I guess we're born with our looks, right? So um, something that I've known to do is to take what we're given, right, our God-given talents, and use them, right, because that will make our lives a little bit easier, and usually it ends up helping others. And so I found online that you're quite an entertainer. You love dancing and having fun. I saw that you are the you're featured in a series, right? A book series called Doc.
Yes. So I think I believe I'm book number 10 in Doc, and that was written by Michelle Prince and Ren McCabe. And I apologize, Ren, if I said if I said your name wrong. Um, but yes, it's a series, and Doc is book number 10, and it's presented in the Montana Charter. Um, but you can go and check that out. Michelle Prince, she's on Facebook, and I mean, she's an amazing woman. She reached out to me on TikTok, so I, sort of like joking around, like, "Hey, maybe you can be a book boyfriend." You know what I mean? And I was just like something that I kind of like pushed off to the side because I just didn't think that I had the looks. You know what I mean? Kind of like I created that self doubt. Sort of like how you said, like how you were in school. You create that self doubt, and you just don't think that you're good enough for something. But after thinking, I was like, well, what's it going to hurt? What's it going to hurt for me to go out there and just try? A lot of people have said on TikTok or just in my life that, man, you should do this, you should do that. And I just like, oh, I don't have the look. So, oh, I can't do that. So now I started creating like all that negativity, and it was a storm around me where then now I'm basically limiting myself to my abilities. And so when she reached out, I was just like, hey, let's go for it. And I flew up to Minnesota, Bloomington, which it's very beautiful up there. And we went to various places, took a lot of photos. I think, of course, a lot of times I had my shirt off. I was in the water with a sword, lots of people watching. I was nervous. And of course, being around, beautiful models, I was nervous because I've never done anything like this before. But I said, it's an experience of itself, and I'm going to learn from it. And I enjoyed it. And then, we took some great photos, and here it is. Like now it's on a book, and hopefully there's more books to come from those photos that we took. And not only that, like maybe I can get more work later on down the road. And so, yeah, that was the stepping stone for me to say, hey, I think, I know that I deserve this. So what came from that was I decided to get into film. And of course, I love to start at the bottom of everything. And once I got into film, it was I submitted for OklahomaCasting.com, submitted photos, and I was like, well, I need headshots. I need this. And from there, I was background of a movie that just came out last month. It's called Land of Gold. And that's streaming. I believe I saw it on Peacock. But it won the HBO Film Festival Award, which was amazing, and it premiered in New York. So at the film festival, so that was awesome. And from there, I was invited to be into a calendar, and that went through. I'm not sure how the sales went, but I'm Mr. October in a calendar. It's called the Holler Boys. And we went from there, and just like, a string of events, charity events and things started coming along. And I just told myself this year that the universe is throwing this at me for a reason. And I'm not going to look at it as an obstacle, but an opportunity. And so I'm taking advantage of every single opportunity that's been thrown at me. And then I filmed In the Line, which is still in productions. That was in January. And then there's a few other films that are filming right now, but I can't say because of the NDA that we all have to sign. But as far as like my main character in another film, it's called Perfect, and I'm Jermaine Wilkes in that, and he's more like an assassin slash killer slash this witty maniacal type guy, like think of the Joker. And and so he's sort of that character, and we're going to wrap up with that August 13th. I'm not sure when it's actually going to premiere, but so far it's a short film, and it's going quite well. So I'm looking forward to that. And then it's also another series that I'm in. Again, I can't discuss that, but that's going to premiere November 13th. And that's going to come out. Once that comes out, I can talk all about it. But right now I have to keep my mouth shut for legal issues.
Right. Well, wow. So that's, you've definitely, it sounds like you've had, like you said, the universe has opened up and you're going in the right direction. I believe in that, right? When we open up ourselves and we allow things to happen and we start to say yes and we stay positive, the whole world is ours. And, I just can't see you as an assassin and a killer. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, if that's what was being presented and then other roles come about, then it's going to make me more diverse. And I think that's great, because sometimes you see actors and they play the same role over and over and over. Now, at the same time, I hope that this doesn't guide me in a direction to where I'm always a killer in a movie or anything like that. I would like to be in a romantic comedy or something like that. That was something that I kind of like listened to Matthew McConaughey about, how he felt that he was being cast for a lot of roles that were rom-com, and he had to take a stand and tell people that, hey, this is not who I am. Like, I do rom-coms, but I'm not a rom-com guy. And at the same time, he took a lot of offers he had to turn down to basically make a stand for himself. And then next thing you know, like other roles started coming, more serious roles like True Detective and things like that. And the thing is, he knew his capabilities. He knew that he was more than just a romantic comedy type of guy. And look where it's taken him. You know what I mean? And I think he's very knowledgeable, and a lot of his like speeches that he gives, especially his book Greenlight. I also look at Denzel Washington. I really like those two because they're very diverse and they're very strong in their field, and they're prominent actors. And that's something that I look forward to getting on their level someday, but I know it's going to take a lot of time. Like, that would be a goal to actually film with them one day. I hope I don't fangirl or whatever. I don't know the term for males whenever they fan over someone else, but I just know a lot of people say I'm fangirling, so I hope I don't do that in that sense whenever I get on stage in that sense. And a lot of times, we speak of the universe doing stuff, and you were speaking of, I said, it's manifestation. I like to manifest things and be positive, so I keep speaking with terms of I will, instead of like, I hope or anything. Like, I kind of throw the word will in there because I'm trying to manifest, what I want to come, and being positive about it, seeing it, believing in it, and then eventually I will achieve it, and that's what I try to do with a lot of things in life, and try to shut out negativity. And I don't preach, but I try to, give advice to a lot of my followers or fan base, but I don't like to call them that. I don't know the right words to say that, but friends, I can say, of how to manifest things in life that you want to come. And then when it presents itself, don't be afraid. Like, you know, like they say, Wayne Gretzky said, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And so that's what I try to move forward to. And if the universe throws it at me, let's do it. Let's go. Let's go.
Yeah, that's a great attitude to have. It's and I've seen your little pep talks where you give that positivity out there, and it's really wonderful. I know people will be, motivated and inspired by it, and hopefully, they can start doing that in their life. One of the things that I don't know if you're aware, but I have a book that I wrote. It's a Emotional Strength Explained, and it's a book where there's prompts in there, and people can become stronger and figure out what it is they want to do or get help getting there. And I always have to talk about it on my interviews because it's relevant. And one of the sections is about functional improvement. So once you take a look at the thing you want to change, and you go through and you write down your thoughts about what's healthy and what's supportive to you, you can work on yourself. And the first quote is, yesterday I was clever, so I wanted to change the world. Today I'm wise, so I'm changing myself. And that, that really came to me when you started talking about manifesting, because, when you go to make a change, sometimes you have to leave your comfort zone. And sometimes, as you did, you just took a chance when you went to do the first shoot for the book. That was just a stepping stone, but it kind of launched you in another direction, and you had to let go of your fear and redefine yourself. So I want to mention this book, Emotional Strength Explained. It's available on Amazon. But yeah, that's something that's so super cool. I mean, we really look forward to seeing all your films and short films, and looking forward to see what comes your way.
Thank you. And I like that what you said in your book. You were clever to change the world. You became wise and you changed yourself. Like I like that, because it's also like a way to tell yourself, like, you change your habits into choices, and sometimes, like, the only way to do that is through self-reflection and, experimentation, like when you do things in that matter. Like, I had an experience like that, and I speak a lot about my experiences because it happened to me and it's changed me and made me a better man. And I'm very transparent, and this is something I don't talk about to a lot of people, but maybe it can resonate with someone else. So I had gotten in trouble at one point to where, I got in a DUI. So then you ask yourself, like, do I continue to go down this road, or do I change? Do I let these fees and everything, facing the judge, do I take this as a negative, take a negative approach to this and be so down on the system, for what I did? I made that choice. But at the same time, it was becoming a habit because I was getting too far out in front of myself, thinking I was invincible. But I was seen that night. And I'm very thankful for the officer that pulled me over, and no one was injured. No one was involved. There was no accidents or anything. It was just me yielding through a stop sign and being silly. I wasn't being silly, but I was eating a burrito. Taco Bell. Taco Bell got me in trouble. No, I'm just kidding. But anyway, what I took from that night is that I had to sit in jail. Okay. And I did a lot of what we call reflection. And I was like, what is going on? Then I had to evaluate myself through that experience. And I was just like, what am I doing? And then I looked around my surroundings and I was aware, and I said, I don't belong here. This is not where I belong. I temporary good time out drinking and driving. Like, come on, we're better. And it's not so much like, oh, I've done it before, or you got friends that are, it's that one time. It's that one time that something can happen. And while I was taking classes, because, to get your license reinstated and things of that nature, you have to take victims impact panel. I had to do counseling and things like that. And when you take those classes, you hear others people's, perspective on things and how they approach. But then what really dawned on me was when someone said that it's not me that I have to worry about in that situation, because they were like saying, well, if I'm driving and I'm drunk, I've done it so many times, I know that I can get home. But let's say there's a mom or something that has a child, and it's technically they're at fault, even though I'm on the road drinking and driving. But if they hit me, what do you think the papers are going to write up? And I was just like, oh yeah, you got to think about other people. It's just like, and I was being very, very selfish in that matter of just getting on the road in general, even though I was trying to hit every back road and say, oh, I did this before, I'm fine. But that's not the point, and it really woke me up to where I told myself like I wasn't going to drink for a year. And I did. I succeeded. And with that, changes started happening. The book deal, my body started slimming up. Like, my health got better. Like, I started to get a six pack. I went from 210 pounds of consuming alcohol down to like 190 pounds, 185 pounds, to where now I got my shirt off, on book covers and stuff, and that was all because I changed my habits and made it choices. So then people were like, well, do you have a drinking problem? Absolutely not. Did I continue to go out? Absolutely, I did. I just chose not to drink. I would have Red Bull, water, club soda, and lime, things of that nature. And most people say, well, when you get put in that situation, why would you want to go out? Well, it's something that I learned when I went to a mental institution when I was just getting out of the military. It's at Laurel Ridge. It's called In Vitro. And In Vitro, what that does is it introduces you back into that environment to basically desensitize you, and so I kept putting myself in that environment into going to bars with my friends just to challenge myself and see that if I can resist a drink. And I did every single time. And I had, and I had like the best time not doing it. And I always made it a social event that I won't have a good time unless I'm drinking. And that's not the case. I found out that there was other means, and it was a lot healthier for me. It was safer. At times I was the designated driver. So like we're all getting home safe, and it was great. A lot of great nights from it. And then that was another perspective to me, because I realized like, hey, if I go to social events, I don't have to consume alcohol just to have a good time, and so I give myself a pat on the back for that. But at the same time, I see where it stemmed from, and it was all from that arrest that night. So, I wasn't negative to the officer, and I took all of that as a learning experience. And like I said, I'm very transparent. I told a lot of people that, and I just hope that whoever's listening to the story, they can kind of sort of take my experience, and if they can relate to it, sort of make that change themselves. And if it is a habit, make it a choice, and then always choose the right choice, which is, don't do it, and that's what I can give. I know that story just went on and on, but that's what I got from you just saying that little small phrase, changing myself. And that's what I had to do. I had to dig deep and change who I was inside as a person. Because, honestly, we all just want to be kind, be honest, be intellectual, be selfless and honest with everyone. I think if anyone approaches me, I want them to get the truth about me. And so that I'm that way with everyone, not wearing a mask with different people. And, that's just how it is. Because by nature, by nature, I think we wear masks with different people. Like you're one way with your mom, then you're a different way with your dad, or vice versa. Like,
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And, thanks for being honest and talking about the DUI and, you know, drinking and alcoholism. It's all fun and games until you end up, well, no, I was going to make a joke. I shouldn't joke about it, um,
Yeah.
but but that's just amazing that you went through that, and when you came out, like you said, like some people would come out and they'd blame the system, or they would blame what happened that night, or that cop, he did me wrong. And it's interesting because then you challenge yourself, and you were actually able to learn that you could have a good time without drinking. And that's so super cool. I can't even tell you, because everybody through different stages of life, when you're of age, you can drink, have a good time with your friends, and personalities go into it, right? So you've always got that one guy, that one person who is, loud and obnoxious, and he's going to do the most of whatever he's doing, right? And then you've got your mix of different people. And I myself, when I was younger, I didn't realize that I was over that I had drank more than I should have. And I drove home, and it was on a back road. And I remember getting home thinking to myself, I am never going to do that again. Cause that's just, it was, I could drive, but I knew that it wasn't good, and somebody could get hurt, but luckily, but other people, they can handle the alcohol better. They think they can do more, and they've got it under control. So that's just amazing that you told that story. And now that you've made that decision, all these, your body changes and the things that are coming your way, that's just amazing. And how you tie that back. So yeah, and my book, I wrote it because I knew that people, could benefit from it, like my method of dealing with things, so that I do come out on top and more resilient. It does involve that self-reflection and, making good choices. So thanks so much, John. I really love that. I love that story you told.
Thank you. I mean, it's like you said, the top turning pain into power. And I could have stayed in that pain, but I figured out a way to like bring myself out of it and turn it into power. And of course, you have a support system, those that want to help you, you can come out of it, but you have to lean on them. So, we talk about leaning on family, leaning on friends, and leaning on God. Like, that's that triangle system. And you sort of need that. And if one is missing, then, you're kind of like open. You're left open. And when you're left open, you're vulnerable to a lot of things, so you sort of kind of got to like weave it back together and at least get it all going. While you're in the middle, you need God, you need your family, and you need your friends, and you work on collabing with one another and helping one another, supporting one another. It doesn't always have to be by monetary means. You can just give that emotional support, or if you can give the physical support, like, hey man, I need to borrow your truck to help me move, go do that, or someone's struggling, like give them a ride, places like that. I've had a lot of friends do that for me when I've needed to go places and such. So yeah, you turn that pain into power. And I really like that topic, and a lot of times people look at pain and they say, I'm struggling. Well, the word to me, struggle, is not a negative thing to me. I look at struggling as something positive, because you know what struggling tells me? Struggling tells me that I'm trying. If you're in the water and you get it, and I'm sorry for the viewers who have lost someone, but if you're struggling in the water and you drown or whatever, like you're trying to get out, or if you're struggling in a situation, financial situation, and you're just like, man, I can't really make it, you're struggling. It just means you're trying. Now, if you give up, that's one thing. But if you're really trying, then I think struggling to me is a positive thing, because if I'm not struggling, then I'm not trying. And I know that's a lot of words twisted in there, but I just really had to reiterate the fact that to me, struggling is positive, and it means that I'm trying. So if I'm struggling throughout life, hey, I'm trying. I'm living my dash, you know,
Mhm.
you've heard that term before. People say there's two dates on a tombstone. There's a birth date and your death date. But what's in between? So I'm living my dash, and I'm going to continue to struggle and live my dash.
I love that. I do. Yeah. So you are living your dash. We look forward to your upcoming short film, Perfect, August 13th. We'll look forward to your Mr. October in the Holler Boys calendar coming up.
Oh,
John, we didn't talk. Yeah.
the calendar is out. It's available for purchase on their website. Um, but yeah,
Nice.
you can get that.
Okay, good, good. Now, what about your new business? Do you want to talk about your online store that's got a
Okay.
lot of love to give?
Yeah. Okay. So, a lot of people said what inspired that. And the day I was being told, but what inspired it was my daughter. Okay. She was being bullied at school, and they were calling her names and things of that nature just because she's different. I'm not going to go too far in detail into that, but just because she's different, so therefore she began to question herself. You know, and as a father, you do it naturally, and mothers do it as well too. But as a father, you do it naturally, and yes, baby, you're beautiful, and she's like, well, am I pretty enough? Because this is what the kids tell me. And they say this and they say that. And then I ask her, like, hey, why did you change clothes from that to this? And she's like, well, because I looked fat in that, or I didn't feel pretty in that, So, and I go and look in her room when she's with me, and she'll have like 10, 12 different articles of clothing on the bed. And I'm like, why are you changing clothes so much? And she's like, well, this is tight and I don't like the way this fits. So she's already at age 8 dealing with her image. And you can tell that it's like weighing down on her, because now before she goes out, she's looking in the mirror. She's trying to compare herself to what society is trying to tell her what she should look like, instead of being herself. Like, even yesterday, she was having a conversation and she was like, I don't like my thighs, they jiggle. And I said, no, baby, that's muscle. And she's like, no, they jiggle. And she doesn't understand between muscle and fat, But I just told her, like, you're just built like you're muscular. That's just how they are. But she's already like, I don't like the way this looks and that looks. And I'm just like, wow, what are we teaching our kids? And as far as like bullying, I told her, I said, hey, those kids are just jealous that they don't have what you have, baby. That's all it is, when people talk about it, because they have insecurities for themselves. And so therefore I was in the gym working out. And at the time I was very in deep thought. And I was listening to Matthew McConaughey talk from his book Green Light on an Audible. Like, when I work out, I listen to Audible books. Prior to that was David Goggins. He has a lot of insight. But Matthew was speaking, and like this image came up, and that's when I was like, oh my gosh. And it spells out love me. And it was like a reflection of telling myself to, like, hey, love me. And not only that, like, when you look at yourself in the mirror and you wear my brand, my logo, you're looking at your reflection, and in that reflection, you're reading what's been presented, and it's saying, love me. And that's your reflection telling you, like, love me. And when you see people on the streets, it's like saying, hey, just love me for me. You don't know me, I get that, but love me for me. And it also teaches self-love, because with the self-love, most people think, oh, you're being selfish or something like that. But no, it promotes a lot of things, self-efficacy, which is capacity to know your ability to reach a goal, uh, you know, self comfort, self growth, like self control, not being tempted to, outer sources to tell you, hey, this is what you can look like, this is what you should do, but you can have the control of a choice to say, no, that's not for me. That's not for me. And when you start to have love for oneself, then you could portray or convey that love to others. Because in a sense, how is someone else going to know how to love you if you don't know how to love yourself? You know, And I think oftentimes we seek, don't say that this is a fact, but oftentimes we seek love from others in order to feel loved. And I basically trying to give that power back to the individual to say, no, love yourself. Like, what do airplanes tell us? They tell us to secure our mask first before securing the mask of someone else. So if you're not optimal, if you're not, you know, loving yourself, how are you going to love others? And sometimes we can use that as distractions from not having any type of care for ourselves, things of that nature. So that's sort of how I was inspired by it. And, you know, I tell my daughter every day, you know, like, hey, you got this, we can do this, you know, and I try to give her words of encouragement every single day. And I can see she smiles when I say, hey, baby, you're beautiful. And it puts a smile on her face, and then it puts a smile on my face, because I think she needs to hear that. I know she needs to hear that every single day, as opposed to being torn down at school. And so I tell her, like, hey, you got this, baby. Don't worry about what people say about you. You know, I said, people talk about daddy too, you know, but I don't let it get to me. You know, you have to keep moving forward. Keep being you, keep being positive, keep being kind, you know, and love yourself and love others as Jesus did. And she's like, okay, you know what I mean? And,
Mhm.
and so she puts a
Yeah.
smile, goes on.
You know, it's funny. It must be the age because my daughter, I have a daughter and she's 9 now, but when she was in second grade, we moved, and the school she went to, they had a no bullying rule, and it was mandated across the school. And her new school, although it's better in different ways, they didn't have that no bullying rule. So my daughter said to me just a couple weeks ago, Mom, why did we have to move? I mean, I love the school, but they don't have a no bullying rule. And she mentioned the two girls who constantly kind of pick on others and put girls down and compare. They even rate each other on different categories of who's better or worse.
Wow.
So yeah, so these kids and girls especially, I mean, and you know what, I hate to tell you this, John, but it just gets worse, unfortunately. So the fact that you're building this right now within her and helping to instill that and give her that positivity and tools that she needs to deflect that stuff, right? It's really gonna help her as she gets older. You know, I have my daughter in Girl Scouts. I don't know if you are, you know, believing in scouting, but it's a great thing that you might want to consider, because it builds up their self-esteem and gives them other things to do other than look good. Gives
Right.
them tools and skills as well.
Absolutely. And that's great. That's great that she's in scouts. Um, my daughter right now, she's in something that's pretty much about vanity. She's in dance, and all the
Yeah.
girls look a certain way, do this, do that, you know. And I'm just kind of like, you know, like, it is what it is. This is what she wants to do. I support her. She's highly into gymnastics as well, which she's really great at that. She's strong. Um, Also, she plays softball. She didn't do too well last season, but I am hoping to. We're going to do better this season. And then she also played basketball, which, I mean, she scored a lot of points. I mean, her team scored 20. I mean, had 20 points. She scored 14 of the 20 points. So she's a very highly active kid, and you know, and I love her to death. And it's just unfortunate that she had to go through that. You know, even I was bullied. I was bullied as far as like being short. You're so short, you know, and things like that. And it bothered me, you know. Did I cry? Yeah, I cried, you know. But then I took that pain, turned it into power. So whenever we played football, I would take all that aggression out in football, and
Mm.
I was able to do that, and that's how I kind of like transitioned or conveyed my aggressiveness like into another sport, or you know, made it something positive. and I played well in football because I had so much built up anger. But I'm not saying that I was an angry child, or anything like that. It's just that that's where I, had a conduit and put it all into was football. And baseball was a little different because then if you fail, if you strike out or something, you want to throw the bat, punch the wall, things like that. It's like you can't do that. You have to control your emotions in baseball. So again, in life, being clear, calm, and collective. And also you take that from baseball, being clear, calm, and collective, take it to your next at bat. Boom, you get a hit. You come out of it. Same thing in war. You see how everything kind of like transitions into the next. I learned it as a child in baseball. I learned it in college and everything, in pro ball and everything. Then you transition that into the military. You got to be clear, calm, and collective. You can't be quick to act into a situation because lives are at stake. There's a lot of tactics that we use over there, rules of engagement, escalation of force and things of that nature. But just because someone is doing something and you start to react, but if they no longer pose a threat, then you have to calm down. You see what I mean? And if you were just so aggressive all the time, then you would be acting out of character as to what the Geneva Convention wants us to abide by, because us and a few other countries are the only people that really go by the rules of war, So yeah, so it was a learning experience all the way through youth, all the way up to now, being clear, concise, and I mean not clear, concise, but clear, calm, and collective. So.
Yeah, so your Love Me Gears online store has launched, and it's to foster self-love, self efficacy, self-comfort, self-growth, self-control, help others focus on their self-image and confidence in that.
Absolutely, and we can go on and on with the selves because all of that, I think, contributes, self-awareness as well, being aware of your individuality and your characteristics, realizing that, hey, I'm not like everyone else, but that's what makes me unique. Because in this huge world, in mankind, there will never be another me, ever. So why not present myself to the world, brand myself, and put that out there to the world? So there's a lot of selves that can go into this and with this brand and a lot of great things that can come out of it. And so that's what I try to portray in my messages. And when people ask me, hey, what does that mean? When I'm on the streets, and I tell them, and then of course they love the design. So then they're like, hey, do you make it in this? And do you make it in that? And I'm like, absolutely. We have hoodies coming out. We have crop tops. We have, a lot of things coming out. And the thing is, I wanted to make everything inclusive. Because with a lot of clothing brands, they stop at particular sizes. And I didn't want to do that. So I had to find material and products that could include all sizes. Of course, now there's some that just doesn't. And I continue to do my research and try to find it, but for the most part, my store ranges from extra small all the way to a 5X, so wanted everyone to be inclusive, and to me, everyone's a model at Love Me Gear. Everyone's a model. So I ask everyone that when you purchase the gear, and if you could please go to our Instagram site, it's Love Me Gear LLC, and just send a message and we will upload your photo. Like, send a message, but upload your photo in the message. I will copy, paste, and with your permission, that's given me, when you send your photo, that's given me permission to post onto our website. Because again, like I say, everyone's a model.
Wonderful. So everyone can visit Love Me Gear LLC right now. I noticed there's a 10% discount right off the top. So new orders, you'll get that 10% discount. Go out, Love Me Gear LLC. Is that the website?
It's Love Me Gear. It's lovemegear.com. But the discount was the weekend promotion.
Yeah.
So it's no worries. But yeah, it was a weekend promotion that was being offered, and so I took advantage of it, and put it out there for everyone. And so, but there is free shipping. There is free shipping all over the U.S. So that's something you do not have to pay for. I cover that cost. That's on me. That's my incentive to everyone. Free shipping. So no worries.
I'll edit that out. Okay.
Worry.
So, all right. So wonderful. So that's a great deal. Free shipping, sizes extra small to 5X. Love Me gear. There's a few different designs available, and as well different selections, new products coming out. I love that idea of having, I don't know if you have planned to put those self-love, self-aware, self-control, self-growth, all these things. That would be nice to have on there, or even as an option.
Oh yeah. It's a lot of things that's coming out. But as I was reading this entrepreneur book, they said if you have all these products, don't launch everything at once, because if you do, then you have nothing else creative to give the people to come back for. They go to your store, they see everything, they're like, so you got to keep them coming back. So, hey, we got this coming, we got that coming. It's a little strategy. So I'm just like, that's what I'm going to do eventually, roll it out. Like, people are already requesting hoodies and sweats, and I'm like, well, we have a fall session coming, but right now it's 100 degrees plus here in Oklahoma. I don't think anyone wants to be in hoodies and sweats, but hey, that's just me. So within the next month, I'm going to throw it out there. We also have team colors coming out, because what's starting up, wow, you're up north. I'm sure pro football is a big thing, but here in Oklahoma, college football is our thing, so team colors are going to be rolling out, so you can buy shirts that represent your team and things of that nature. And then we'll get fancy with designs and things like that to incorporate the logo and designs, but it doesn't stop there. We got accessories coming, necklaces, bracelets. We have shoes, socks, hats, so we're just going to basically keep going with this and make it a brand, and expound on it. And then eventually, once I get a trademark internationally, then I can open up to Europe. Because I've got friends in Europe say, hey, I want to purchase your gear. I said, I can't. I don't have an international trademark. So I don't want to get in trouble, for selling things overseas, and I don't have permission to, because it's all in the legal system now. It's recognized as a business, and there's currency, and we already know, hey, they want their money. They want taxes and everything. They want their pay. And so even Canada, I have friends in Canada. I'm like, I wish I could, but that crosses borders, and I can't do it unless you got friends that can buy it and then like mail it to you. Then there we go. At that point, my control,
Right. So it sounds like you have a solid business plan. Your new product launches coming out, and lovemegear.com is the website for that. John, you have your Instagram, right? I am John Russell.
I am John Coker.
Oh,
yes.
okay.
There's
Great.
Russell is my middle name, but Russell was taken, so I went with I am John Coker. That is my name on Instagram. But I've been using my I can't say stage, but professional name of John Russell, because a lot of actors sort of take that lead as far as they'll have their full name, but then they use like their middle name or only their middle name and last name, so that's sort of why I think it flows better, just John Russell as opposed to John Coker, because I will tell you honestly, the confusion in high school and in minor league baseball, and you can edit this out, but I'm just telling you personal knowledge, is that my name has been mistaken, and as not John Coker, but John Cocker, and it kind of throws me off. I'm like, how does that look like Cocker? Like, you know what a Coke is. You like Coca-Cola, you say, let me get a Coke, and then you just add an R, and you know how to spell Cocker Spaniel or anything like that. So why would you think that that says Cocker? I don't understand that, you know? And so to avoid those things, I said, hey, I'll just go with John Russell. That's plain and simple. Just John Russell.
Yeah. Well, when I went to research you, I think, I had a little trouble because, again, sometimes you research somebody and they come up, you find everything easily. But for yours, it was true. Like there was a few different Instagram people with the name John Coker and, different things coming up. So, yeah, so I would just think if you're going to use one, use it, and then, fix everything so that it's all
absolutely
aligned. Just, I don't know.
Something like TikTok. I think I have maybe 50 accounts. Not that I created them, but people are creating false accounts, and then they're asking for things from people, pictures, money, cards, and I'm just like, that's not me. I wouldn't do that, And
yeah, wow. So, all right. So, John, what about your Cameo? Are you still doing unforgettable personalized videos for people?
I am doing Cameo. I have done a total of 7 cameos. I started last month with cameos. Just recently, yesterday, as a matter of fact, I did a cameo for someone who wanted a cameo for someone's birthday. And so I basically made a 30 to 60-second video attempting to sing happy birthday and basically giving them lots of praise, appreciation, and things like that. And they said, hey, thank you for the video. It was amazing. And that's what it's all about. I don't get to see, the people who follow me. I don't get to see them much, And there was a company that reached out and said, hey, we want to offer you this because you got to brand yourself. Before, I was just like open, very like, yeah, call me. But it started running into a lot of trouble with a lot of people, shooting their shot or things of that nature. And I'm like, so they say, hey, start a cameo. And so I reached out to someone reached back and said, all right, here's your cameo. It's set up. And we went that way. But yeah, you can request me on Cameo. It's www.cameo.com/John Russell. And you can request shout outs. You can request personal, like just text messages or things like that. You can request private personal videos, whatever you want me to do in respect to, being very moral, but, don't get too crazy. So, and I will do it, and a lot of times in the description, they'll write, hey, just say whatever you want to say. I will appreciate it. And just say my name. I'm just like, okay, like that's easy. It's just crazy. Or do a dance. Hey, will you do this dance? So I did it. I set my phone up and I did the boot suit for someone. So they were like, oh, thank you so much. And whether they posted it on their social media, I don't know. But at that point in time, once I upload the video to them and I fulfill their order, then it's their video, because that's me. That's within the rights. I just gave them the rights to that video so they can do whatever they want with it. You know what I mean? That's why I keep everything within grounds of guidelines. I don't get too crazy out there. This isn't OnlyFans. You know what I mean? And and so I stay away from that. I'll be silly. I'll sing to you. If you think I can sing, I'll do it. Like, I don't think I can, but hey, we'll try.
Wonderful.
I was singing last night to people. I was like, yeah, I'll sing to you. And singing some Luke Bryan, Baby Do I. So
Nice. Well, you're in the spotlight, so it's good to know that you're open to that, and I'm sure your fans are going to, definitely take advantage of that. Just so our listeners know, you can find him on Cameo at john.russell for any unforgettable personalized videos, shout outs, or texts. If you want any representative sample, you can take a look at my personal favorite, which was maybe during COVID, John, when you had some downtime, you did the Wild Wild West TikTok. So I love that. Thank you.
Wild Wild West, huh? that was time ago. Yeah, that was some time ago. What?
Right, right. So,
But I,
so
but I,
yeah,
do you like that? Do you like that song?
so again, I'm I'm a child of the '80s, right? And
Right.
so when I saw like you had different things out there, some country songs and some other dancing and some, a whole variety of stuff. So when I was out there researching, um, I think I saw you as like a senior, like, with the whole made up like a senior, and there was these funny clips and stuff, and then um, of course, all the romantic stuff, which is like funny. I said to my husband, I said, "Oh, you got to do some of this." So, it was funny, but yeah, it was cool. Just, something from the past.
Well, because it was snowing that day, and I was like, "Ooh, I got an idea." Like that's what happens. Sometimes I just sit up and these ideas just come to my head, and I'm like, "It's snowing." I was like, Kumo D, like I gotta do it. I have to do it. So I set my phone up and my camera, and my phone kept giving me winter because it was cold, and the iPhone's like phone is freezing or something like that, So my neighbors are looking at me, and it's coming down. I'm looking like this fool, and I got a trench coat on and a cowboy hat, dressed in all black, and I had to do like about 4 or 5 takes on it because I had to get the timing right. And so I turn around. I used to live downtown, 129th Street, but only if you're from the '80s, you will know what I'm doing. And so that's why I transitioned the actual video from Kumo D, the Wild Wild West. And that was introduced to me by my dad. Like my dad listened to a lot of music like that, and Grandmaster Flash, things like that. So yeah,
Hmm.
I won't forget the Wild Wild West.
Nice, nice. Well, so John, there was something else I wanted to ask you about. What is that tattoo you have on your chest?
That is First Corinthians chapter 13, verses 4-8. Love is patient, love is kind.
Hmm.
Uh, I got that tattoo, and it's a representative I read that at times. And sometimes I got to remind myself because I'm not perfect, I'm human. And, a lot of people are like, hey, you should be in a relationship, you should be here, you should be there. And I just tell myself, like, at this particular point in time, like I'm not ready. So at this point, my love has to be patient, you know, because I have so much going for myself, and I don't think it's fair for me to just jump into a relationship, jump into love, um, all because I think that I need that. You know what I mean? And so I'm basically taking a stand against love at this point in time to give myself a break from it. It will always be there. Maybe the right person will come along at some point in time in my life, and maybe they're already there, and I just don't know it. But if it's meant to be, then
Hmm.
it will happen, because like I said, I believe love is patient, it's kind, you don't envy or boast about it. So I'm in love, da, da, da. You see that a lot, and I see it a lot on TikTok. People will get in these relationships and they'll look happy and be in love and everything, and then like a few months later you see a broken heart as an emoji underneath their bio, and I'm like, what happened? They're like, oh, we broke up. Well, why would you boast about it? Like, I don't think that the world needs to know that I'm in love. you know
Hmm.
if I keep my personal life from my TikTok or my social media life, like
Hmm.
that's me. That's a sense of me. And eventually it will get out there from pictures, paparazzi, or something like that. But I'm not going to be like, hey, everyone, this is my girl, and she's going to be on a pedestal in my eyes and in my life, but I'm not going to throw her on social media like that, because some people just don't like that social media attention, you know. Um, and I don't think that, and I got the rest of the tattoo about it being arrogant and rude. I just think I try when I'm in a relationship and I'm loving, I try to be unconditional. I really do. Um,
Hmm.
And with that, you're unconditional. You take all these components, and you make it into one. You make your own definition of it, and as a man, we like to feel respected, and as women, you like to feel, nurtured and loved, and I try to be unconditional as much as possible, to where it also gets into the love languages, so I speak of love a lot because, in a sense, between you and I, the rest of the world knows I'm a hopeless romantic. I'm a horny. I don't think chivalry, to some people, is dead, but I'll open doors alone. If there's a puddle of mud, I'll step down. I'll either carry you over it if I can. If not, I'll just lay down, let you walk over me. Like, it is what it is. You can wash clothes. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's what that tattoo means. And at the time that I got it, I was in Florida, and it was with, my ex-wife, and she got the second verse. Well, it's the same verse, but she got verses 9 through 13 on her back. So just 1 Corinthians chapter 13, those verses 4 through 13 really, really meant a lot to us, and so we decided to get it tattooed on our bodies. All of my tattoos are biblical. I have a tattoo of a cross with wings, and it says "Protect thy family," and that's on my back. And I got that once when I was in air assault school in the military. So, yeah. So that's what that tattoo means. I get that question a lot. What's your tattoo stand for, or what's it say? And I have to tell them.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, thank you. It's that's a verse that we had spoken at our wedding. My husband and I, we were best friends, and it was something that we really also believed in, and it's important because love is the greatest things the greatest gift we can give ourselves, we can give to others, and I just think that's a really wonderful lead into your online store, Love Me Gear, LLC. Want to make sure the listeners are aware. You can go and buy the products. Again, they'll help you with, the message to others, that you have self-love, self-confidence, self-growth, all these things. And it's really going to help to make the world a better place. Today, we're talking with John Russell, model, actor, founder and CEO of Love Me Gear. And we also learned a little bit about him. The main things that I'd like to showcase here, just so that our listeners can understand a little bit if they've missed the beginning of the show. We talked about resilience and ways that you can do that. John shares that you should definitely reflect and self-evaluate. You should definitely take advice of others along the way. He's had coaches and different people give him advice. Try to look at things with positivity. Be selfless and have courage, because when things come your way, you want to be ready to battle that and come out of that where you can learn from it and use that as a tool for the thing that comes to you next. John also shared with us that you can change the world with your choices. You don't have to continue down that same path if it's not something that is going to serve you well. And remember to lean on God, family, friends, and that will be a wonderful support system. He tells us that we should feel our feelings, use any aggressiveness you have, maybe in a sport as an outlet, and you'll see things will become clear. So many wonderful things. One of the things that you said too, also, I don't want to let slip by, is that if you're struggling, it means you're trying. So I want our listeners to remember, if you're struggling, you're not alone, and don't give up. It means you're trying. John, is there anything else you want to share with our listeners?
Yeah. So, like we'll touch on that. You know, if you're struggling, it means you're trying. It's the way I see that, and it was once told to me by a dear friend. You know, 'cause within my struggles, you know, I reach out to people. Try not to be so stubborn, but when you're struggling, you're trying. It's all it is. It's just, you know, a storm before the blessing. That's all it is, and nothing is permanent. Okay, it's only temporary. You know, and I've had people that have also spoke of, you know, just giving up on life, and I'm like, no. Right now, you got to keep trying. You got to keep struggling. Keep struggling. Eventually, you're going to get through. You struggle up that mountain, but eventually, you're going to get to the top. You just got to keep moving forward. Okay. We always use the analogy, or why the mirror, you know, in a car, why the rearview mirror is so much smaller. If you constantly sit back, you can look at it and remember, but you got to look at the bigger picture, which is the front mirror, right? And if you're looking at the rearview mirror, it's so small because that's in the past. If you continue to look back in the past, you're going to hit what's in front of you, and that can be detrimental to where you're trying to go in the future. So take a glance, but keep moving forward. Keep your eyes on the road, you know, and avoid negative things or any obstacles at all costs, and, you know, and seek opportunities, and, you know, stay positive, and keep God, keep your family, keep your friends in your life, and, you know, just, I can't say keep hope alive, but, you know, there's a lot of things that
you can say it.
But there's a lot of the things that come to my head right now, and because I know that the way I think and the way I act and move, sometimes it's hard for me to convey that out. You know, like it's like I know what I'm trying to say, but it's just hard to get it out. You know, but yeah, that's about it. You can edit that or whatever how you want, but it's just I don't know. It was also another thing, you know, when I was doing honor flights with my friend Jonathan Lucroy. We did honor flights. There was a quote that was in a book that someone said. I have to find the book, and I could tell you. But he said, "Every day above ground is a bonus." You think about it. This is a World War II veteran, and he said, "Every day above ground is a bonus." I was just like, "Oh man, I never thought about it like that." Just being grateful to be alive, just thankful I can stand up, I can walk outside, you know, I can see the sky, because there's a lot of people that can't. And if you ever go and visit a graveyard, I don't know, maybe that's too eerie for people, but sometimes I do. You really see that there's probably a lot of people that are buried, that are sleeping now for eternity, that have lots of dreams that were never achieved, or that were cut short, or they just didn't try. And you go and you look at that dash and you're like, I wonder what was in between those two dates. How did this person live? What was there? But you'll never know unless you do some research, or if you already knew them. But all you know is when they were born and when they died, you know? So I try to take that. Every day above ground is a bonus, and realize that, you know, I'm lucky. I'm lucky because, you know, the chances, the odds of whenever what it takes upon conception, like that's a lot. A lot can go wrong, and you're here. So that's what that means. You're a survivor in itself, because only one makes it. You know what I'm talking about.
That's true.
Only one makes it. So that means you survived, or you won. You're winning already. You made it to the egg. You're already winning. You won the race, and now you defied all odds of what could possibly happen throughout those months of pregnancy, and now you're here, and you're to this point. So you're winning. You have won, and you have to keep going. You reach a goal, set another goal. I like to look at it like there's no rooftop for me. You know how people say, "Oh, to the roof." Da-da-da. No, there's no cap. There's no rooftop for me. A rooftop to me is man-made. I'm going up. I'm going through. I'm going to keep going up as far as I can. And if I pass out, and keep floating up. until I wake back up. Then I'm gonna keep going. You know.
Wonderful, wonderful. So yeah, it's true. I mean, you're speaking to me because I was a premature baby and I was 1 pound, 11 and a quarter ounces when I was born. And so, all my life I was a survivor. And, you know, even now, it's something that I'm trying to teach to my kids and, you know, and even my husband who's slowing down. We're 50 this year and, we're trying to, you know, stay young for our kids. And it's like, we're you know, we still have to set goals, but they're just a little bit smaller. So, but yeah, but it's true. All the listeners out there, you know, you can do it. You can be a survivor. You can overcome whatever it is that is in your way. You know, remember to use your friends, your family, whatever support system you have, you know, as John says, reach out, keep moving forward. It's only temporary. And usually if you're in a struggle, it's the storm before the blessing. I love that. John. Thanks so much.
Absolutely. You're welcome. And it's not my words I came up with. This is from a dear friend helping me with that. And I kept telling myself that every day. Hey, we're going to get through this. We're okay. You just got to keep fighting, keep struggling, keep moving forward.
Yeah, and that right there, that's enough to help people persevere over what they're going through. So I know that, you know, all your words of wisdom today are going to help others. And thanks so much. And we definitely look forward to having you on the show again. When you have time, after you can talk about these other movies that you have released, love to have you on the show again.
Absolutely. And I'd love to come back. And, like I said, I appreciate everything and inviting me onto the show. And I had a really good time.
Yeah, so did I. Thank you, John.